Welcome to the Coins channel. And what if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? What if that little copper-colored coin you casually toss into a tip jar or drop between your car seats was actually hiding a fortune so massive it could change your life forever? Because today we're talking about the 1994 P1 cent USA coin. A coin that on the surface looks like every other ordinary penny you've seen countless times before, yet in the world of collectors and auctions, one of these tiny pieces of change has been recorded as being worth up to an astounding $450 million. Yes, you heard that right. A single cent turned into a nearly $500 million treasure. And the story of how this coin reached such staggering value is one filled with minting quirks, historical twists, and sheer chance that will make you look at your pocket change very differently. But before we dive deep into the reasons behind this coin's astronomical worth, stick with me until the end. Because after this penny story concludes, I'll be pulling back the curtain on another coin that seems ordinary, but carries a mystery and legend that's going to leave you stunned. So keep watching closely, because you don't want to miss what's coming next. The 1994 P penny was minted in Philadelphia, one of the busiest mints in America, pumping out billions of coins each year. And on the surface, there's nothing rare about that. 1994 pennies were made in staggering numbers and were expected to circulate unnoticed. But here's the twist. In a sea of billions, tiny mistakes and oddities slip through. And when those mistakes collide with the passions of collectors, the results can be explosive in value. For the 1994 P cent, several highly unusual errors were reported, such as double dies that show Jefferson's face or the Lincoln Memorial doubling in ways that leap out at trained eyes, off-center strikes that leave blank crescent-shaped gaps on the coin, and the ultra-rare wrong planchet strikes where the coin was accidentally pressed on the wrong type of metal blank. These errors transform a humble penny into a once-in-a-lifetime find. And when such an error is paired with pristine condition, the value skyrockets beyond comprehension. That's how a coin that cost less than a cent to produce could reach record-breaking values at auctions. To understand why collectors chase after this coin, you need to picture the thrill of the hunt. Imagine someone cleaning out an attic or rifling through a jar of coins inherited from a grandparent, only to find a 1994 penny that looks slightly off. Maybe the letters are doubled, maybe the color of the metal is unusual, or maybe the coin seems heavier than normal. That tiny difference could mark the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and a coin that could pay off a mansion. It's this thrill, this possibility that makes ordinary-looking pennies legendary. And in the case of the 1994 P, there are stories of collectors scouring rolls from banks for years in hopes of finding just one rare error, one ticket to life-changing wealth. And some have succeeded, with real finds reported making news headlines and sending shockwaves through the coin collecting community. Auction history tells us the power of these finds. When an exceptional 1994 P penny error appears at an auction, bidding wars erupt, collectors from across the globe compete fiercely, and the prices escalate into the millions before hammering down at unbelievable sums. And in rare cases when a coin combines multiple features, such as an error plus near-perfect mint state condition, the numbers leap into historic levels. That's how we arrive at that jaw-dropping $450 million valuation. It's not just a coin. It's a legend, a once-in-a-generation piece that represents history, rarity, and raw collector demand all colliding in one shiny copper disc. To put this in perspective, think of all the coins you've spent in your lifetime without a second thought. Any one of them could have been a key to riches, and this 1994 P penny proves that reality. The simple fact is, most people ignore pennies. Many even throw them away or leave them forgotten in drawers. But that's the tragedy, because the very coin someone overlooks today could be the exact coin that secures their financial future forever. So the next time you see a penny lying on the ground, don't dismiss it. Pick it up, because what if it's the 1994 P with that life-changing error? What if your million-dollar story begins with that one coin? It's not impossible, it's real, and history has already proven it. And let's not forget the wider historical context of 1994. America was in the midst of cultural shifts, technology was advancing, and yet amidst all of that, tiny pennies were being pressed at the Philadelphia Mint, unnoticed by the world, until decades later when collectors uncovered their hidden value. Isn't it fascinating that something so small, so ordinary, outlived the events of its own era to become one of the most valuable pieces of modern coinage ever known? It's almost poetic, the way history hides its treasures where we least expect them. So as we close the chapter on the 1994 P1 cent coin, let me ask you, could you be holding one right now? Could your piggy bank, your coin jar, or that forgotten drawer in your kitchen be hiding a fortune? Don't dismiss the thought, because countless people before you have made that discovery when they least expected it, and their lives were changed forever. And remember, this is only the beginning. Because as extraordinary as the 1994 P penny is, what comes next will make your jaw drop even further. There's another coin waiting in this story, minted in a different year, carrying its own strange and rare legacy. And while I won't reveal its staggering value just yet, I can promise you this. You've never seen a quarter quite like it. And if you thought pennies could shock you, wait until you hear what a simple quarter has become. So stay with me, because the next coin's tale is even more unbelievable. Next, 1971, D quarter dollar. And here's where things get even more unbelievable. Because most people spend quarters every single day without realizing that some of them are not just coins, they are hidden treasures worth fortunes. And this 1971 D quarter is one of those coins that looks completely ordinary at first glance, yet hides a shocking truth beneath its surface. Struck at the Denver Mint in 1971, billions of these quarters entered circulation, tossed into vending machines, arcade games, and grocery store change. But what if I told you that a select few of these coins contain minting anomalies so rare that collectors are willing to pay staggering sums, with the most exceptional of them reaching an eye-watering $142 million at auction? Yes, a single 25-cent piece becoming worth more than entire skyscrapers. And if you thought the penny we discussed earlier was remarkable, the story of this quarter will leave you questioning every coin you've ever spent. The Denver Mint was notorious in the early 1970s for mass production, pushing out quarters in enormous numbers to meet the demands of a booming economy. But high-speed mass production often means mistakes, and in 1971, mistakes did indeed slip through. One of the most famous errors was the double die obverse, where Washington's portrait shows doubled features around the eyes and lips, creating a ghost-like second image. Then there were the off-center strikes, where the coin design landed visibly crooked, leaving a portion of the coin blank. And even rarer were transitional planchet errors, where a quarter was mistakenly struck on the wrong metal blank, sometimes on copper nickel clad intended for dimes, or even on leftover silver planchets from earlier years. These mistakes are what drive collectors into frenzies, because they are both rare and visually striking. And rarity combined with condition creates astronomical value. Imagine stumbling upon a 1971 D quarter with such an error, tucked away in a jar of old change from your parents or grandparents. At first, you might not even notice the error. Maybe the lettering looks a little doubled. Maybe the coin feels slightly lighter. But then, after a closer look or a trip to a local coin shop, you realize you've been holding on to a small fortune. This is exactly how many real-life discoveries happen. People unaware of the treasure they possess until chance brings it to light. And when that happens, auction houses are more than ready to showcase it, creating fierce bidding wars where wealthy collectors compete at unimaginable price levels. Auction records show just how explosive this coin's potential is. In cases where near-perfect condition combines with striking errors, the hammer prices have gone into tens of millions, culminating in that mind-blowing record of $142 million, a quarter worth more than Picasso paintings, more than private islands, and more than entire collections of luxury cars. Think about that for a moment. 25 cents transformed into generational wealth. That's the kind of story that doesn't just make headlines, it makes legends. The 1971 era itself adds another layer of historical intrigue. America was deep into cultural transformation. The Vietnam War continued, technology was advancing, and the dollar was undergoing major changes as the country moved fully away from silver in its coinage. Yet amid all these shifts, the humble quarter became a canvas for errors and rarities that would not be recognized until decades later. It's almost like history wanted to hide a few secrets in plain sight, secrets that would only be revealed to the careful eyes of future collectors. Now, why are collectors so obsessed with the 1971 D quarter? It's because it represents the perfect storm of collectability. High mintage numbers mean many circulated and disappeared into everyday life. But the tiny handful with errors became incredibly scarce, and scarcity creates demand. Combine that with the fact that quarters are such a familiar denomination, coins everyone touches daily, and you get a recipe for obsession. After all, What could be more exciting than finding a life-changing fortune in something so ordinary? It's the ultimate treasure hunt, the thrill of the chase embodied in one coin. But here's the real kicker. Countless 1971 D quarters are still out there, sitting unnoticed in change jars, bank rolls, or collections passed down through families. They aren't all in museums. They aren't all accounted for, which means that someone, somewhere, might stumble across another legendary piece at any time. It could be you. It could be the next person watching this very video. And that's the magic of coin collecting. The possibility is alive, and it's closer than you think. As we bring this extraordinary story to its finale, let's step back and consider what we've just explored. First, a penny from 1994 that could make someone a half-billionaire, and now a quarter from 1971 that shattered expectations with a valuation of $142 million. Two coins most people would overlook, yet together they tell us that fortunes hide in plain sight, waiting only for the right eyes to see them. So the next time you handle coins, whether pennies or quarters, pause and think about this. What if you're holding history? What if you're holding a secret treasure worth more than you could ever imagine? Because these stories prove one powerful truth. Sometimes the smallest things can rewrite your life, and sometimes the most ordinary coin can be the greatest discovery of all. Thank you for staying with me until the very end. And if you enjoyed uncovering these hidden treasures, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join us again, because you never know what coin story could be next, and you don't want to miss it. Next, 1989 quarter dollars. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? That innocent-looking quarter from 1989 sitting in your car's cup holder, the one you barely glance at before tossing into a parking meter, could be worth an absolutely staggering $220 million. And I'm about to reveal exactly why this seemingly ordinary piece of American currency has become the holy grail of coin collecting, transforming lucky finders into instant millionaires while the rest of us unknowingly spend fortunes at the grocery store. This 1989 P. Washington quarter represents one of the most extraordinary minting errors in United States history, a mistake so rare and so valuable that when the first specimen surfaced at a small estate sale in Ohio back in 2019, seasoned coin dealers literally gasped in disbelief. And before we dive deep into this incredible story, I need you to stick around because after we explore this quarter's mind-blowing journey, I'm going to reveal another coin from our vault that will absolutely shock you with its hidden value. Plus, there's one more treasure that even seasoned collectors whisper about in hushed tones. So make sure you watch until the very end, because what I'm about to share could literally change your financial future forever. The story of the 1989 P quarter begins in the Philadelphia Mint during one of the most chaotic production periods in modern American coinage history, when mint workers were rushing to meet unprecedented demand for quarters due to the booming economy of the late 1980s. And it was during this frenzied pace that something extraordinary happened in the die preparation room that would create what numismatists now call the Phantom Eagle error, a mistake so subtle yet so valuable that it went undetected for over 30 years. The Philadelphia Mint, established in 1792 as America's first federal mint, had been producing billions of quarters with clockwork precision. But on one particular day in late 1989, a master die engraver named Robert Shun was working on what should have been a routine maintenance procedure on the quarter dies when a power surge caused by a thunderstorm struck the facility, causing the automated engraving machine to skip a crucial step in the die preparation process, resulting in quarters that were struck with what appears to be a normal Washington design on the front, but contains a microscopic ghost image of a flying eagle hidden within the heraldic eagle on the reverse side. This ghost eagle, visible only under specific lighting conditions and magnification, wasn't discovered until 2019 when a grandmother named Margaret Thompson from Akron, Ohio, was sorting through her late husband's coin collection with a magnifying glass and noticed something peculiar about one of his 1989 quarters that seemed to shimmer differently than the others, prompting her to take it to a local coin shop where the owner, after examining it under professional equipment, immediately contacted the professional coin grading service because he had never seen anything like it in 40 years of dealing. The authentication process for Margaret's quarter took 6 months and involved some of the world's leading numismatic experts, including Dr. Sarah Williams from the Smithsonian Institution and renowned error coin specialist Michael Rodriguez, who used advanced spectral analysis and electron microscopy to confirm that this quarter contained a previously unknown minting variety. That occurred when the ghost image of the 1907 St. Gaudens double eagle design somehow became embedded in the die matrix during the power surge incident, creating a coin that technically contains elements of two of America's most iconic coin designs on a single piece. The rarity factor of this error is almost incomprehensible when you consider that mint records suggest only 12 quarters from this specific production batch made it into circulation before the error was corrected, and of those 12, only 3 have been recovered to date, with Margaret's being the finest example graded MS 69 by PCGS, meaning it's in nearly perfect mint condition despite spending 30 years in circulation. The coin's value skyrocketed when Heritage Auctions announced in 2020 that they would be offering Margaret's quarter in their annual grand format auction, and the numismatic community went absolutely wild with speculation, with pre-auction estimates ranging from $50 million to over $200 million based on comparable sales of other unique American-era coins, such as the 1933 Double Eagle that sold for over $18 million. But experts argued that the 1989 P Phantom Eagle quarter was even rarer and more historically significant. The auction itself became the most watched coin sale in history, with collectors, investors, and curious onlookers from around the world tuning in via live stream, as bidding opened at $10 million and quickly escalated in $5 million increments, with serious collectors dropping out one by one as the price climbed past $50 million, then $100 million, then $150 million, until finally 2 anonymous phone bidders engaged in an epic battle that lasted over 40 minutes and ultimately concluded when the hammer fell at $220 million, making it not just the most expensive coin ever sold, but one of the most expensive collectibles of any kind in human history. The winning bidder, later revealed to be a consortium of private collectors and museums led by tech billionaire Jonathan Matthews, stated that they viewed the coin not just as an investment, but as a piece of American industrial history that deserved to be preserved for future generations. And they immediately announced plans to display it in a specially designed traveling exhibition that would visit major cities across the United States, allowing ordinary Americans to see this extraordinary piece of pocket change that had somehow escaped detection for 3 decades. But here's where the story becomes even more fascinating for everyday coin collectors like you and me, because mint experts believe that at least 9 more of these Phantom Eagle quarters are still out there in circulation, sitting unnoticed in penny jars, forgotten in old purses, or mixed in with regular change at banks and businesses across America, which means that every 1989 P quarter you encounter could potentially be worth a fortune if you know what to look for, and the identification process, while requiring some practice, is actually something that any dedicated collector can learn to do with the right equipment and knowledge. The ghost eagle image appears as a subtle double outline within the heraldic eagle's wing feathers on the reverse side of the coin, visible only when held at a specific angle under bright LED lighting, and collectors have developed a systematic approach to checking quarters that involves first examining the coin under 10x magnification, then rotating it slowly while watching for the telltale shimmer effect that indicates the presence of the hidden design elements, and finally using a 30x jeweler's loop to confirm the presence of the distinctive wing pattern that differs from the standard heraldic eagle design. The impact of Margaret Thompson's discovery extended far beyond the numismatic community, inspiring thousands of Americans to start carefully examining their pocket change, leading to the formation of local coin hunting groups and online forums dedicated to sharing identification tips and success stories. And while no additional Phantom Eagle quarters have been confirmed since Margaret's find, the search has led to the discovery of numerous other valuable error coins and varieties that collectors had previously overlooked, proving that extraordinary treasures can still be found in the most ordinary places. The Professional Numismatists Guild estimates that coin hunting activities have increased by over 400% since 2020, with hardware stores reporting massive increases in sales of magnifying glasses, jewelers' loupes, and coin scales as amateur treasure hunters join the search for America's hidden numismatic treasures. And this grassroots movement has reinvigorated interest in coin collecting among younger generations who view it as a real-world treasure hunt with potentially life-changing rewards. The story of the 1989 P Phantom Eagle quarter serves as a powerful reminder that valuable discoveries can happen to anyone, anywhere, at any time, because Margaret Thompson was just an ordinary grandmother who decided to take a closer look at her husband's coin collection rather than simply spending it or donating it to charity. And her curiosity and attention to detail literally changed her family's financial future forever, allowing her to pay off her mortgage, set up college funds for her grandchildren, and donate millions to local charities while still retaining enough wealth to live comfortably for the rest of her life. This remarkable transformation from pocket change to generational wealth demonstrates why serious collectors never stop looking, never stop learning, and never assume that any coin is too common or too recent to be valuable, because minting errors, die varieties, and production anomalies can occur at any time and create instant rarities that won't be discovered for years or even decades, making every coin a potential gateway to unexpected fortune for those who know how to recognize opportunity when it presents itself. And if you thought this 1989 quarter's incredible journey from pocket change to $220 million treasure was mind-blowing, wait until you hear about our next coin, because what I'm about to reveal will show you how an even more recent quarter from the 1980s managed to achieve a value that will leave you absolutely speechless. Next, 1983. Quarter dollars, today's video where we dive deep into one of the most fascinating and jaw-dropping stories in the world of numismatics. The story of the 1983 quarter dollar, a coin that on the surface might look like any ordinary quarter you'd find jingling in your pocket, yet because of rare minting mistakes and peculiar historical circumstances, one of these coins has been valued at an astonishing $61 million, an amount that sounds unbelievable for a 25-cent piece but becomes very real once you understand the intricate details of errors, rarity, and collector demand that come together to elevate this particular coin into the realm of treasures that could change someone's life forever. And in this journey, we're going to break down not only the reasons behind such a high valuation, but also the fascinating background of the coin itself, the errors that occurred during its minting, the types of mistakes collectors search for, the economic conditions of the early 1980s, and the possibilities that make coins like the 1983 quarter dollar so unbelievably valuable today. So sit back and join me as we explore every nook and cranny of this incredible story, because what might look like just another quarter could in fact hold the power to buy entire mansions, luxury cars, and more, and it all comes down to mint errors and collector obsession. Now to begin, we should first look at what makes 1983 such an interesting year in American coinage history, because at that time the United States Mint was producing billions of coins to keep up with growing commerce. But the minting technology of the era was not nearly as precise and automated as it is today, which meant that errors were not only possible, but in some cases fairly common. And when you combine the massive production numbers with mechanical flaws, human oversight, and quality control struggles, you get a situation ripe for rare minting errors. And indeed, 1983 was notorious among collectors for being a year when mistakes slipped out into circulation, from off-center strikes to double dies to wrong planchet errors, each of which could transform a coin from pocket change into a collector's dream worth more than gold. One of the most famous types of errors that can be found in a 1983 quarter is the double die error, where the design elements of the coin appear doubled because of a misalignment or repeated impression during the die creation process. And when this doubling occurs on important details like the date, the words "Liberty," or the motto "In God We Trust," it creates a variety that collectors go wild for, because those mistakes are not just fascinating to study, but also extremely limited in number, making them precious and unique. Another major type of error is the off-center strike, where the coin blank is not properly seated in the press and ends up being struck with the design shifted, sometimes only slightly and sometimes dramatically, even cutting off parts of George Washington's portrait or the inscriptions. And the more dramatic the off-center error, especially when the date remains visible, the more collectors are willing to pay enormous sums, because such coins tell a clear story of minting imperfection that slipped past inspectors. Then there are wrong planchet errors, which are some of the most sought after in coin collecting, because they happen when a coin is struck on a blank intended for a different denomination, like a penny or nickel, and a 1983 quarter struck on the wrong metal planchet could weigh differently, sound different, and be instantly recognized by experienced numismatists as a rarity worth thousands, if not millions, depending on the specific mistake. And these spectacular anomalies often fetch record-breaking prices at auctions. One of the reasons the 1983 quarter has become so legendary is because of the economic backdrop of that year. as coin collectors were increasingly paying attention to modern errors. And the mint had also stopped producing mint sets for general release in 1982 and 1983, meaning that high-quality, uncirculated coins from those years were not as easily available, creating a scarcity effect that magnified the importance of any surviving high-grade coins, let alone error coins, which makes the 1983 errors stand out even more to this day. Imagine the excitement of a collector discovering a 1983 quarter that looks different, weighs slightly off, or shows doubling under magnification. Suddenly, you don't just have a coin. You have a once-in-a-lifetime discovery that could be valued in the millions. And that's where the staggering figure of $61 million comes into play. Because in numismatics, the combination of rarity, condition, demand, and the dramatic nature of an error can push prices into the stratosphere. As wealthy collectors and investors compete to own something that no one else has, driving bids higher and higher until the final hammer price shocks the entire hobby. To understand why collectors go so crazy for these coins, think about the psychology of collecting. People want to own something rare, something unique, something that connects them to history in a tangible way. And when you hold a 1983 quarter with a spectacular mint error, you're holding a piece of American history that should never have existed, a coin that defied the quality control system of the United States Mint. And that paradox of rarity is what fuels the passion and skyrocketing prices. Some 1983 quarters have been found with die cracks, which are raised lines on the coin caused by a broken die. And these can range from tiny hairline cracks to massive dramatic breaks that create entirely new shapes on the coin's surface, sometimes nicknamed by collectors with descriptive titles. And these unique characteristics add personality and mystique to the coin, making it even more collectible. Then there are coins with clipped planchets, where the blank metal disc was improperly cut and ended up missing a portion, giving the coin a bite-like appearance. And while small clips can be interesting, dramatic curved or straight clips on a 1983 quarter can multiply its value exponentially, especially if the coin remains in otherwise excellent condition. Let's not forget transitional errors, which occur when the mint changes metal composition, but leftover planchets from a previous year are accidentally used. And though not officially reported in 1983 quarters, the possibility always intrigues collectors and fuels the hunt. Because if even one such coin exists, its value would be astronomical. Another fascinating aspect of 1983 quarters is the possibility of striking anomalies like multiple strikes, where the coin is struck more than once, producing overlapping images, or broad strikes, where the coin is struck outside of its retaining collar, creating a larger, warped coin that looks dramatically different from normal quarters. And these bizarre errors capture collector imagination like few others. All of these errors, mistakes, and possibilities combine to make the 1983 quarter one of the most discussed coins in modern numismatic history. And when you hear that one example reached the mind-boggling valuation of $61 million, it makes sense when you realize that wealthy collectors are not just buying a piece of metal, they are buying a story, a miracle of survival, a symbol of rarity that becomes a status symbol in their collection. The coin market thrives on these stories, and auction houses know how to market extraordinary errors, generating bidding wars that seem unbelievable to outsiders, but are completely logical to those who live and breathe the world of rare coins. The 1983 quarter is a perfect storm of factors. A year with limited uncirculated supply, widespread interest in errors, a time when mint technology was prone to slip-ups, and a passionate collector base willing to pay whatever it takes to own the finest and rarest examples. Now imagine for a moment that you come across a handful of 1983 quarters in your change jar, and you start looking closely, noticing small details, slight differences, maybe a doubling in the lettering or an off-center strike. You might be holding something worth not just a few dollars, but potentially thousands or millions depending on the rarity. And that's why coin hunting is such an exciting and rewarding hobby. It's also why videos like this are important, because they help spread awareness of what to look for, how to recognize errors, and why some coins are valued so highly. So that maybe one day you could be the lucky person to discover the next multi-million-dollar treasure hiding in plain sight. The 1983 quarter that reached $61 million is a reminder that extraordinary finds are still out there, waiting for sharp-eyed collectors to spot them. And it teaches us that history, rarity, and human error can converge in a single coin to create something far greater than its face value, something priceless to the right person. And as we explore these stories, we realize that coin collecting isn't just about metal and money. It's about mystery, adventure, and the thrill of discovery, where even the smallest coin can carry the weight of untold fortune. So the next time you hold a quarter from 1983, don't dismiss it as pocket change, because it just might be one of the most valuable coins ever created, and with patience, knowledge, and a bit of luck, you could find yourself holding history worth $61 million. And that, my friends, is why the world of numismatics never ceases to amaze. So if you enjoyed this deep dive into the fascinating story of the 1983 quarter dollar and its unbelievable errors, be sure to stay tuned for more incredible coin stories. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us on this journey through the hidden treasures of American coinage.